right, welcome to a new episode of Off the Carousel, and I'm pleased to be joined by none other than Jay Lucas, the new Miami head coach. All right, Jay, let's start with this. How many people screw up your first name?
A lot. It still happens all the time.
So
And I've
do,
got so used to it, I don't even correct them sometimes. I just let them go.
that's what I was gonna say. Like they do this with my daughter. My daughter's name's Talia, and they'll call her like Talia,
Yeah.
and she doesn't correct
Yeah.
them. And I'm like, no, you gotta correct people. So you're done. You're done correcting people.
I'm done. I figure I know who they're talking to. They're at least trying to communicate with me. So I just let them go.
All right, all right. All right, I'm going to age myself a little bit. I remember covering you back through your recruitment
Right.
back in the day. That's how either old I am or, you've gotten a little bit older yourself. You don't have the gray
I
hair
have.
I have, but you are now a head coach at the Power Four level. Um, what was it like going through that process, Jay? Did you have any idea, before it started to happen late in the season, that you were going to be the guy at Miami? And did you think you were going to get this type of first job, or you'd have to start maybe at more of a mid-major?
Uh, well, going through the process, you never really know, like if you're the guy or not. Towards it gets towards the end, probably last like week, you start to feel like, okay, I got a real shot at this. And for me, it's just a blessing to be able to get a job of this level. But it also kind of fits everywhere I've been and what I've done. So that's made it not feel as overwhelming as it looks, because this is kind of, like I said, just I was blessed to work at Texas, Kentucky, Duke, so I've been at a high level, and this feels more normal to me than anything else. So it's been pretty much an easy transition in that sense, and being able to do it in my own way, of being able to build a program, not from the ground up, but kind of a clean slate has been something that I really enjoyed and was big for me in looking in a job.
Well, and I've said this. I think guys like you and John Shire and some of the younger guys right now have an
Mhm.
advantage because you're not sitting there complaining about every little thing that's going on in the sport right now, right?
Right.
NIL, the portal, all the changes. A lot of the older dudes, maybe not Brad Underwood, he's adapted pretty quickly, but a
Yeah.
lot of the older dudes, myself included a little bit, even covering it, complain about
Right.
like, all right, the good old days, right? The good old days when it was a little simpler. You didn't have to rebuild your entire roster. You had to rebuild your entire roster here and try to figure this thing out. What's it been like from when you took over to even now, of trying to kind of get a grasp on this whole thing?
Uh, this is kind of, and I think this is what you're alluding to. It's like a adapt or die mentality. This is where we are. How can we take advantage of it? How can we be really good in this space of where this new college basketball is? It's so much more than what it used to be that comes with the job, especially being a head coach. Just your capacity has to be a lot broader. You know what I mean? You're dealing with so much other things other than just basketball and, old school recruiting and relationship building. Like it's just so much more that comes with it. So how can we have a staff and how can we have kind of infrastructure to kind of really attack it? Is kind of how I look at it and I think about it. Like this is where it is, this is where it's going. How can we be the best? And that mentality for me, I think being a lot younger does help, because I'm okay with the change. I'm not so much stuck in my ways and what it has been. So that's been, I think, one benefit of being able to get a job at this moment in time.
All right. Ready? Rick Barnes,
Yep.
Shaka Smart, John Calipari, John Shire. I'm not even including your dad in there, who you probably learned more from your dad, John Lucas, than any of those dudes. Who are
Yep.
you most like of that group and why as a
Oh,
coach?
that is a great question. I think I'm a little bit of everybody.
Okay.
I don't think I'm most like anybody. I've really morphed into a combination of all of them. One thing I got from Rick Barnes playing for him, but also working with him is just the level of urgency that's needed. And just when, even no matter how long and how many games you won, just the level you want to keep a program at. Shaka Smart, the one thing I take from him, and he's probably, I will say, the one guy that poured the most into me, and wanted me to develop to be a head coach, is just culture building. Culture building, anything you do is everything you do. is a big thing I took from him. Coach Cal, he taught me how to be and that it's okay and that they can take it to be brutally honest with the players. And that way, the brutal honesty creates the clarity that everybody knows the expectation and what's expected of them. And then, really, with John, and one of the reasons I wanted to go work for him was to be really on the ground floor of somebody who was taking over a program as an assistant coach, going to head coach, something I knew I wanted to do. And he has a really good attention to detail that's needed to really attack and taking over a program. Now, it's a little bit different situation that he was taking over that it is here, but just the attention to detail that's needed was kind of one of the things that I stole from him. So seeing all that, I've kind of put it all together and kind of created
What
my
about your
own kind of
dad?
plan. So,
What did you take
I
from your
mean,
dad?
he's my foundation in everything. My foundation in skill development, foundation in relationship building. Um, he, of course, is the biggest part of me as a player, a coach, a person, everything. So that's my foundation. These other people are just I like to call kind of the branches of my base.
Well, your dad's personality, man, is like
Yeah.
nobody else.
Yeah.
That dude can talk
I
to
know.
anybody and everybody, and I do think you've gotten a lot from him. You're not
Yep.
probably. I think he's more outgoing even than you, more
Yeah, he is.
demonstrative than
Yeah.
you. You're a little more
Yeah.
chill, correct?
I am. I am. Him and my brother are very similar. People always joke that I'm adopted because I'm like the polar opposite. But I go about my way and my competitiveness just in a different way from them. I may not be this monstrous person, but I feel like I do a good job of being able to say things and be brutally honest and tell the truth in one tone and get my point across.
Yeah, I think you actually and Shire have some similarities in your personalities and the
Yeah.
fact that you guys are kind of even keel and I think a lot more mature than
Right.
than most people would think with maybe I don't want to say your age because you're not young. You're
Right.
not
No, I know
24
what you
years
mean.
old anymore. But again, you guys have always kind of had that about you
Right.
since I've known you. Um, what was that decision like, Jay? Because I know you got some crap for it for leaving Duke, in February, and I want to give you the platform to kind of explain, why you did it and how difficult it probably was to walk away from that team, which was a fun team to be
Yeah.
around and coach.
Yeah, it was extremely hard. One, because just the relationships you've built there with the players, the staff, everybody in the program. You have a team that you always dream of, that you want to coach and you feel like you had the opportunity to really win a national championship, which doesn't come around a lot. But also, I felt at peace because I knew the maturity and I knew the staff and everything that was already set that me stepping away at the right time, which was a mutual decision between me and John, that was best both for me starting a new job, which was a weird time because it was the first year that we didn't have teams playing the conference tournament. So, their season was over March 8th. And I was gonna, if I had stayed around, I was really gonna be a month behind of having to really start over with everything that was going on here. And with the coach leaving so early, also played a big factor with him retiring at Christmas. Like the portal had already opened down here, to be honest.
Yeah, no
You know what
doubt.
I mean? For lack of better words. So just knowing what was ahead of me, and John also seeing that as well, really, put things in perspective. And with the timing, like going into the postseason and there being a little bit of gap, and it was something we kind of really were calculated and thought through, and it ended up working out for everybody.
All right. What is your style going to be like? Both your coaching style, but probably more how you want to play. I
Yeah.
think everybody says, you know the deal, Jay. What does everybody say when they get a job? I want to
Focus.
play fast. I
Yeah.
want to play fast, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
no matter what, whether you do or not, you got to say, I want to play fast because you got to get recruits.
Yep.
But more than that, more than just I want to play fast, what, how do you want to play?
Yeah. For me, defense will be our foundation. That's going to be a foundation. I feel like you have to be able to guard in. And You may have nights where you're not shooting great, so you can't rely on offense all the time. You got a foundation to defense. So our plan is to be one of the best defensive teams in the country. That'll be something that'll be a staple in our program. I still value being big, and having positional size, but also having bigger bodies up front. If you watch the last couple of years of college basketball, those teams have been successful. You look at Florida, um, what they were able to do. You look at us at Duke, we were bigger. Even the year before when we had Filipowski, or 2 years ago, Filipowski and Derek Lively. Um, UConn was big the years they won. Houston, Auburn played 2 5s. So I think basketball has shifted a little bit, and some of the things that just go into winning, being able to guard, being able to rebound, come up with loose balls when it matter. Those things I think are fundamental. So we'll have that toughness and that defensive mindset. And now offensively, it really, for me, the way you coach offense is what do you have? Like it's easy to say, oh, I want to play 5 out and I want to shoot 33s and do all this stuff, but that may not be my team. So, that's the kind of end that we'll kind of morph and figure out what best fits us. I do think there is value in playing fast, but what does that mean? Like you said, everybody says it, but what does that mean? And for me, it's kind of when you want to shoot, like early in the shot clock, first 7 seconds, let's get a paint touch. Just the kind of fundamental foundations that go into playing fast is kind of what I mean by playing fast. Just not just a buzzword for recruiting or, program, but how are we going to do it is how I like to attack it. And a lot of that how is based on what the roster looks like.
Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up to the second against the spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
So it's funny because Miami, before Larinaga got there, it was like one of those programs that I think everybody felt like was like maybe the worst in the ACC or one of them.
Right.
It was like
Right.
BC, Miami were the two tough jobs, partially because they were pro sports towns, right? It was
Right.
going to be hard, but it was just harder. They didn't have a lot of pop to them. I thought Larinaga did an unbelievable job there. And
He
I don't
did.
think anybody would argue with that until the final year where I think, I don't want to say he checked out, but, he was ready. He was ready to retire. You could see. How do you get this? I don't even want to say back because I don't feel like it's been that long since Miami
Right.
was pretty darn good. How do you get it back in a pro sports town like that, in a city where there's a lot of other things to do?
Yeah.
Obviously, winning is paramount, and you've seen it because when they won under Larinaga, they showed up. I mean, I
Yep.
remember going to a game where LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh were all courtside early on in his tenure when he had it going. How do
Yep.
you get this thing going and keep it going?
I think a big part of it is you have to give the fans somebody that they want to come watch. Part of that's recruiting, but also a part of that is just my strategy and understanding. Like one of the reasons I took this job is because not only South Florida, but Florida is rich in talent. When it comes one to high school kids, but also people who may be in the portal. So you can kind of see how we attacked the portal this year. We wanted to really attack the state and people from the state for two reasons, because we wanted people who had pride in where they're from and wanted to really give everything they have to putting on the jersey and having Miami, but also, extension of Miami and the state of Florida on their back. And really, what does that mean? I did that with the staff too, and how I aligned the staff is having people from this area, from this region. And I think that's a big key is making people, because one thing I learned is people from Miami love Miami,
They do.
and it's not the South Beach, it's not the Miami Beach, Miami that you think of, like Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, kind of Palmetto Bay. This South Miami is the real Miami. So learning how strong the people feel about it, but also you have to give them something to want to come. And I think, like you said, with the success the Heat had, people showed up when they were good and still show up because of what was built. And like you said, with what Larinaga did here the last 14 years. So it's there. It's just making them feel a part of it and making sure that they know we're their team and that we're visible in the community as well.
So your roster is not quite done, but
Right.
we know a lot of it right now. I mean, I think I can mention these guys. I think they're already signed. Trey Donaldson, you got
Yep.
True Washington,
Hmm.
who still the craziest thing ever, right? Is the uncle of Ty Ty? Is that right?
Yeah, the
I
uncle.
got that
He's
right?
he's
Yeah.
Tata's uncle. Yep.
I love that. I love that. That's just to me that's something kind of funny. Malik Renew, who I got a chance to
Yep.
see a bunch the last couple of years in Indiana. You got some other good players. Shelton Henderson,
Yep.
you just got signed, a freshman, talented kid. Tell me about this team and how it's taking shape so far, and kind of the strengths and weaknesses. And again, I know you said like you got to figure out all the pieces to figure out how you want to play. You're probably not there yet.
Yep. Yep. And I did this a little bit different because I wanted to really give clarity. I wasn't going to put 13 players on salary.
Yeah,
Like that didn't make
smart.
sense to me. I guess that's the best way to put it. So my thought process is more 10 or 11
Yep.
that you would do, and that way you have those 10 that will potentially play in the game, have about an 8, 9 man rotation. And that way, I'm big on development too. So, some of the people here that we brought, like you're talking about, like a Sheldon, even a Dante Allen, some of these younger, True is a guy who has multiple years. So people that can be here and be kind of the foundation where we're kind of just using the portal to kind of fill holes and just supplement what we have here. I don't want to be 8 players, new 8 players. I don't want
Every
it to be
year.
that way
I know.
now. It's unpredictable. I can say that now.
No, you don't want to. Right. Nobody
I don't
wants
want to.
to.
I don't want
Right.
to. So that was kind of how I wanted to do this. And coming earlier, it really helped me take my time because I could have, like in the first week, 2 weeks, had 13 players and had just signed names and signed people. But I wanted to make sure everybody understood what was wanted from them, give as much clarity as I could, the roles and why the team looks like it looks and how these pieces complement each other. So that was a big key for me. So I probably still have 2 more I need to get to finish out the roster, and then we'll have some kids that we've signed that will just be on scholarship to kind of finish out everything else um, for us. But we're going to be those 3 things that I talked about. Will be physical. We'll be able to guard. We'll be able to rebound. We'll be able to do that right away. Now, I got to figure out the offensive side. You know what I mean, and figure out how we can generate some points, and that may be through defense. But we'll get that figured out once we get everybody here and get the summer to kind of see what we're good at, what we can kind of do to help them also offensively will be. But the one thing I know we'll be able to do from day one is guard, rebound, and be tough.
Um, all right. So I think when a lot of you new coaches got your jobs, and you got yours early, again, you got yours in February, when a lot of guys got theirs in March or April,
Right.
um, they had a number for NIL. And when you got that number, you thought that number was really good at that
Great.
point, right?
Yep.
Am I wrong? Like, I
Yeah.
think you know where
Yeah.
I'm going with this.
I know
Is
exactly where you're going.
Yeah, whether it's you, whether it's Will Wade, whether it's some of these other guys, you all got a number. I don't know, it might have been the 5, 6 range. And you guys are all thinking, all right, 5, 6, that's pretty good. I'm gonna be in good shape. And now you're looking around the landscape and saying, man, 5, 6. And I'm guessing that's the number for you. It might be a little bit
Right.
higher, it might be a little bit
Right.
lower. I'm not asking what it is, but I know it's in that range somewhere. And now you see some other teams, I'm not gonna say who they are, but spending maybe close to 20 million others 15. I think there's going to be, honestly, I think there's going to be 20 plus teams spending 10 plus million dollars this year. It's crazy.
It's
So,
not.
what was it like to watch that and sign up for something and think, all right, you know what? Like, I feel pretty good about where we're at. And now you're like, man, I wish we had some more.
Yeah, no, it is a real thing like you talked about because I felt like what we had and the resources they put into the program, I mean, we were going to be right there with anybody. And then and then the portal opens
All hell
and
broke loose.
all hell
Right?
broke loose. You start talking to, the first couple of recruits and people are asking for 2 and 3 million. And you're like, 2 or 3 million. And this guy's 6 points a game.
Right.
What is he talking about? And so then the first week, I think everybody was kind of in the same spot where we were just kind of waiting to see if like somebody was really going to give a kid this money. And it kind of happened, and then all hell kind of broke loose after that, like you were saying. And so then you just had to be real strategic. And the one thing you learn, and the one thing I've learned this first month on the job is like you can come in with this plan and come in with all your stuff kind of organized, but you got to be ready to adjust and pivot and adapt because things happen fast. And you have to do what's best for the program. And I thought me and the staff did a great job of really attacking the people that we felt fit and being able to build like a really strong roster that's not extremely top heavy, but we have a really good pieces and a good core. Now it's just about bringing them together and seeing how good we really can be.
You gonna be nervous at all going into game one when you walk out in that court for your first head coaching game? Like, I know you're not going to show it. That's just not who you are. But you think you're going to be nervous underneath it all?
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
get nervous before every game. You know what I mean? It's not just because it's my first game or anything. I think it'll just be the regular nerves you get as a coach is making sure you did everything to prepare the team, to give them the confidence, that you didn't skip over anything, just everything that comes with coaching. I think the nerves will be there for that. I don't think I'll be nervous because it's my first game as a head coach. It's just making sure that I felt that, going into the game that they're prepared and I gave them everything that I had to give them as much to be successful and win.
All right, the last one, completely off topic. I know your dad was a hell of a tennis player.
Yep.
Shire claims he's a hell of a pickleball player.
Okay.
I know you played again, right? You guys have played a bunch.
Right. Yeah.
So who was at Duke? Give me the power rankings of the best pickleball player, best to worst on the staff.
There was me.
Okay.
Then
Shire
there was
way down there?
actually, huh?
Who was next?
There's this guy, Dave Bradley,
Oh
who
yeah.
kind of runs all our social media
Yeah.
stuff. He
Good.
kind of got the pickleball league stuff going. He got really good. He's kind of one of those people, when he gets into something, he gets into it.
Okay.
So he got into it. So I would say he was second, and under him was everybody else was about the same. I'll put Shire probably fourth or fifth.
Ooh. Oh, so no wonder Shire's ducking me. Now I know why he's ducking me. He's saying how good he is, but
Yeah,
just like Robbie Hummel did, Hummel ducked me for a while
yeah,
till I got him at the Final Four,
yeah.
and it didn't turn out well for Rob.
The one I've heard that's pretty good is Grant McCaslin.
I
I
heard
heard
that too.
I heard he's really good. He's got a pickleball court at his house.
Yeah. Mark
Uh,
Few, pretty good.
Few, I don't know about Few, but
Yeah.
McCaslin and Tommy Lloyd are the two
Yes.
that the streets are saying are pretty good.
So do you put yourself like, hey, I'll take any of these dudes, McCaslin, Lloyd, I'll take any of them. I got them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I grew up playing tennis. Pickleball took me about a week, 2 weeks to kind of get used to and then get it figured out. I'm not here saying I'm the best, but I think I'm pretty good.
I think next year the goal is we get about 16 coaches out. We did it at the Final Four in San Antonio. We found a spot about 10
Yep.
minutes outside, and we get 16 coaches, and we have a little bit of a tournament out there
I
next
think,
year.
yeah. I was just about to say the Final Four. I'm glad you did it this year. That would be a good hit. And I
Yeah,
think you
we'll
probably
do it.
get a lot of people to show up.
Exactly. We'll do it. We'll get Shire embarrassed if if they're not in the Final Four, which
Right.
anyway. Listen, Jay Lucas, congrats. First head coaching job at Miami. not too many better spots than that, my man. You know, to
Yeah.
live, to coach, to learn, all of it. So good luck this season, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.